Recently, I was asked whether or not limerence was an experience that could be overcome through time and waiting for a phase to pass. And my answer to that is both yes and no, which might seem like a cop-out answer, but hear me out, okay? Romantic love, like limerence, follows stages. And even in that initial glimmer, that initial meeting of that person is fleeting. The intensity of that. It's like the passion of a new relationship. Over time, our memories fade. And that makes it easier for us to let go of the associations that we have of the limerent object, of the yellow. So logically, it makes sense for someone to assume that time would make us think about this person less. But here's the catch. Many of you have shared that you've experienced limerence for years, and that's with having no interactions with the limerent object. Before we get into that, if you're new to my channel, I talk about limerence, codependency, and relationships, dysfunctional relationships mainly, through a psychoanalytical lens. While I am a licensed professional therapist and a relationship coach, this is not medical advice. If you want to learn more, check out my playlist. And if you'd like to ask any questions, head over to my Instagram, where I'll be selecting some questions that you guys asked to respond to in a video. I was chatting with one of my subscribers about limerence. We were sharing about our experiences of overcoming limerence and what it takes. I'm going to be referencing the original work of Dorothy Tanoff to answer some of this, mixed in with some of my own ideas. First of all, personally, I wish that it were as simple as time or a phase just passing. But clearly it's not, because then there wouldn't be long threads of people going on about their suffering. So many people refer to this phenomenon as a crush on steroids. Time doesn't always weaken this one-sided emotional attachment. If limerence were just a phase, as a response to a time of loneliness or a craving of intimacy, then why is it that after these phases, it transfers over to someone new? Why does it even persist when you're already in a committed relationship? And why does it reignite with the same level of intensity when you break no contact? With all that in mind, did that phase really ever truly end? What's interesting about Dr. Tanoff's original research was that she found that some people have no idea what we're talking about. They could not relate to the intensity of lovesickness that many people have claimed to experience. On the other hand, some of the informants described experiencing this kind of attachment deeply and have repeatedly experienced it throughout their lives. This divided the camp into two. And it mirrors a lot of the comments that I receive on here. Either get it or you don't. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you're lucky. These two categories in the original research she called limerence and non-limerence. The limerents are those who experience the classical symptoms of limerence: obsessive infatuation, consuming their thoughts and their whole life. The research also shows that limerence exists on a spectrum. Some people go through it repeatedly throughout their lives, while others may have mild or fleeting moments of infatuation. And then there are non-limerents. These are the folks who find it really baffling, this whole experience of limerence. From the outside perspective, it is madness that one would go through such emotional turmoil over a crush or someone they never even had a conversation with. The research suggests that limerence is not universal, meaning unlike romantic love or basic attraction, not everyone experiences this. It doesn't mean that it's special. Honestly, in some ways it feels like a curse. It's more complicated than that. With this experience being unique to some folks, it isn't time or just waiting for a phase to pass that will make it go away. Instead, it seems like limerence appears to be a distinct psychological and biological phenomenon that certain people are wired to experience. It is my opinion that it doesn't necessarily require its own separate diagnosis, because there are a lot of other diagnoses that can be comorbid or just overlap with codependency, complex PTSD, borderline personality disorder, just having anxious attachment. That being said, I believe that limerence should be understood in a bigger picture, one that is influenced by brain development, attachment styles, and most often early childhood trauma. So if you're struggling with limerence, know that waiting it out doesn't necessarily always work. Sometimes you're going to have to do the deeper work of going backwards, going back to the parts of your life where the attachment injuries happened. See what patterns are driving this one-sided emotional affair. Check out my Limerent workbook series. It's free. I'm going to include the links here. And for those of you guys who have been patiently waiting, I appreciate you guys so much. And as always, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You're gonna have to move, my baby.